Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Welcome to this first evening of the Business Speaker Series for the academic year 2025-2026. For those of you who are new, this is one of the initiatives of the School of Business we organized under the Small Business Center, the School of Business. So every year we have a series of business people, academics who bring in to share with you practical business insights, to connect with your conceptual learning in the classroom, and to be part as well as of your integrated learning, practical integrated. I say work, but it's not working, but it's part of work integrated learning as well. So this year we have a speaker who will be introduced in a few minutes, who drove from Edmonton, St. Albert, to be with us tonight. We're going to share a little bit more with you. So with that, I welcome you, and enjoy the food and listen and take notes, because it's an assignment for your classes. And welcome, and we're going to have a word of prayer now with Dr. Dufour.
Okay, shall we pray? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this evening, for the gift of life and the good health we are enjoying. I also want to thank you for the traveling mercies that our speaker has enjoyed, and to be with us for this interaction. We pray that you be in our midst, and that this interaction will be a blessing to us. We have prayed in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
All right, a couple of announcements. One is we're going to have tonight, it coincides almost with the Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And Dr. So will share a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. And in October, we are going to have a different format of the Business Speaker Series. So we're going to have two events instead of one. The first event is going to be a business speech competition, initiated after expressed interest by a business person here in town. So we're going to ask all students interested in business or anyone else to participate. And our business instructor, assistant professor, Denis Brisson, is spearheading that. So I am going to allow her to share a little bit more with you about that pitch competition.
Yeah, so if you have seen this poster in your classrooms or on the walls in the School of Business, this will give you some more information. But yes, as Dr. Michelle said, there was a business person in Lacombe who expressed interest in potentially investing in businesses, and so wanted to start this initiative. And we had last year taken a couple groups of students to Andrews University to participate in a pitch competition there. So there was some interest among the students and the business club to do that sort of thing here as well. So you can win up to $2,000 in prizes. This is open to all Berman students as well as the community. If you know somebody in high school, we are having a section for high school students as well. So it is really open to anybody who would like to participate. So you just need to come up with a business idea and then put together kind of a short business plan. What is the product? How are you going to market it? Some financials, that sort of thing. So talk to any one of us in the School of Business if you have some questions. Take a look at the poster, get the information there. Yeah, and we hope that a lot of you will pitch your businesses.
Okay. In my time as a student, $2,000 used to be a lot of money for a student. Now it seems that it may be the case too, I think. So you just scan the barcode. We have a couple of posters printed. You can grab a copy and encourage, form a group and participate in the competition. That is going to happen And you have, when you scan the code, it's going to give you the dates when you submit, you apply and what you have to submit. We will provide some training as well to you. And then that would happen in October the 20th, Monday the 20th. We're going to have the competition. Some business people in the community volunteer to be judges to say how well you do. And on the 22nd, Wednesday, October 22nd, we're going to have a full morning. Some of you are used to it, full morning at the LMC, Lockwood Memorial Center. We're going to bring a business, a well-known business person out of town and right here to talk about AI in business nowadays. The title of the event is Power Your Business with AI. So we printed a couple of few copies. You feel free to take a picture of it as well. That we're going to happen on Wednesday, October 22nd. We will provide breakfast. We will provide transportation. We will provide as well the speakers. It's a very training, a very good experience for all of you, business majors and non-business majors. Okay. Okay. That's the. I think that's all for announcements for tonight. Now we're going to introduce one of our students. I think we should have done that right after the prayer. We're start making announcements, but Brianna is going to present the land acknowledgement for us. And after that, Dr. So, you know, we'll come move forward and introduce our speaker and the presentation.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Burma University acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Regions 2, 3, and 4, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. Burma University is committed to doing its part to address the legacy of broken promises and rebuild productive partnership relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Central Alberta and across Canada.
Thank you.
Good evening and happy Wednesday. We hope you all are doing well, and we are very pleased to be here at the first bus series. Thank you, Dr. Michelle, for the invitation, and I'm honored to introduce to you our first speaker for the bus series of this new academic year, 2025-2026. We are honored to have with us Brent Boisvert, who was born and raised in Treaty Number 8 Territory in Slave Lake, Alberta, and is a member of Big Stone Cree Nation. Brent has a Bachelor's of Arts in Native Studies degree from the University of Alberta and a law degree from the University of British Columbia. As a lawyer, Brent helped First Nations clients with their governance and economic development needs. Brent is also an entrepreneur, and it's amazing, co-founding a retail company, a globally accredited company, and a drilling services company. Brent currently serves as, or sits rather, as the Vice President of Business Relations at GenCon, a construction company, commercial construction company, and builder of schools, seniors and healthcare commercial office and retail, light industrial, indigenous communities, municipal infrastructure, emergency services, and more, etc., etc. GenCon Construction works a lot with indigenous communities throughout Alberta and British Columbia. Brent is deeply involved in the fostering of indigenous relationships and development for GenCon. He serves as a crucial liaison with numerous nations in Alberta and British Columbia. Recognizing the profound social and economic impact of their projects, Gen Con Construction prioritizes the utilization of local Indigenous labor and businesses, ensuring that benefits are maximized within these communities. Brent spearheads these efforts, ensuring that each project contributes positively to Indigenous economic development. Brent enjoys golfing, running, swimming, playing hockey, and spending time with his family. Some of you may do that too. His wife, Leanne Sheldon, is also a First Nations person, member of Swan River First Nation, and the founder of Indigenous Psychological Services of Alberta. We have to talk offline after. But on behalf of Birmingham University and as Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Director, we're very pleased to have you. So, Tansy Tawa Miigwech. Let's put our hands together. Not time flex. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. That was a great introduction. I'll keep cognizant of the time here. So, Tanse Nia Brent Boisvert, Nitsigasum Big Stone Creation Chinia. So what I said is, hello, my name is Brent Boisvert, I'm from Big Stone Cree Nation. If you don't know where Big Stone is, it's in a town called Wabasca. Wabasca is about, I would say, 3.5 hours north of Edmonton, about 1.5 hours north of Slave Lake. As mentioned, my wife is also First Nations. She's from Swan River First Nation. Our daughter, whose birthday was yesterday, is 11 years old. She's a member of Big Stone Cree Nation as well. My family, my wife is Ukrainian, or my mother is Ukrainian. My father is First Nations. My Kukum, which is Cree for grandmother, and my Mushum, which is Cree for grandfather, my late Kukum, my late Mushum. We're also both First Nations. My Kukum was a member of Swan River. My Mushum, a member of Big Stone Cree Nation. So I'm a part of two worlds, as you could tell here. The Indigenous world and mainstream society. From my Indigenous world, I carry teachings and a deep connection to my community. From mainstream society, as mentioned, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of British Columbia and a law degree from the University of Bachelor of Arts from U of A, law degree from University of British Columbia. Through these experiences, I've learned how to navigate systems, institutions, and opportunities. Living at the intersection of these worlds has really shaped who I am today. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of your speaker series. It's always an honor to be asked to share my story, and an even greater honor that people actually show up and want to hear about my story, even when there's incentives for withholding it. So thank you. I'm truly grateful. I also want to thank the organizers and everyone who worked behind the scenes to make this event even possible. Miss, I hope I don't pronounce your last name. Hodder had the, if you don't, for everyone, had the really tough task of trying to track me down on numerous occasions, so sorry and thank you.
It's perfect. You're here, that's me.
It's never an easy task, as my assistant says. So bringing people together to listen, learn, and connect isn't always easy, but I think it's one of the most powerful ways that we build an understanding in community. So today I want to share my journey, where I come from, what shaped me, and how those experiences guide the work I do in law, construction, and drilling in the NHL, and Indigenous partnerships across Western Canada. My hope is that you listen, you'll find your own points of connection, values, experiences, or lessons that resonate with your life and that you can take on in your own journey in business. So let's start at the beginning. My upbringing, my family, and the lessons that shaped me into the person and the entrepreneur that I am today. So, as mentioned, I was born in Slate Lake, a small town surrounded by forest, gas, and water. Winters were long and cold, summers short. We had the lake that was wonderful. But a sense of community ran really deep in that town. And growing up there, didn't have to look far to see the value of hard work and really helping your neighbor. And those principles really have really helped me in business, as you'll be able to hear as I go through my speech. So my father worked in the oil field. He worked for a company called Union Oil. Union Oil was a company based out of Texas that moved into Canada. Union Oil was eventually sold to Husky Energy. So long shifts, unpredictable weather, as we all know in the oil and gas industry, little room for error. My mother worked at the local Catholic church, brought home stories about her experiences every day. Between the two of them, I really learned early what dedication and service looked like in real life. They weren't just working for a paycheck. They were building stability, structure, and belonging for our family. There was myself, my younger sister, Shannon, who has been through her own journey and is now doing her PhD in psychology as well. And our older brother, who also works in the oil and gas industry. The deepest well of strength really came from my cook-up, who I mentioned earlier, my mom, my dad's mom. She raised 7 children on her own. In government housing, 3 boys, including my father, 4 daughters. There was no extra resources. What she had was courage, she had faith, and an ironclad belief that hard work could make tomorrow a little bit better than today. So when you grow up in a home like that, really you don't need lectures on resilience, especially when you're within the situation they were in. You watch it unfold every single day. You see neighbors share what little they have to make sure that everyone eats. You see lights burning late to make sure the bills are paid. You see how dignity can be held intact, even when the world tries to take it away. And being First Nations and a single First Nations mother in the 50s and 60s, the world was against you. So, from my parents and my cookum, 3 values were really entrenched into me. Work ethic, humility, and resilience. Work ethic meant showing up on time, prepared, and ready to give your best effort. Humility to me meant never thinking that you're too important to sweep the floor, to learn from someone else, or to say thank you. That's really important, especially when you look at from a business side. As a founder of a business, as an executive within a business, if you, when we talk about, and at the start, talking about starting up a business, if you don't join your people to sweep the floor at the end of the day, then you're going to be digging yourself a big hole. And resilience. To me, it meant getting knocked down, but getting back up, dusting yourself and trying again, and trying again, and trying again. My father's life really reflected risk aversion. He graduated from high school in Slave Lake, got a job, and held on to it tightly. Security was everything to him. And because, as I mentioned, he had grown up with so little, so for him, a steady paycheck was a victory. And we honor him for that. That was absolutely wonderful. But me, same upbringing sparked something different in me. It sparked an adventurous spirit. It sparked an adventurous spirit. Well, he craved safety, I craved possibility. So even with that adventurous spirit, the lessons of community, duty to family never left me. So in Slave Lake, where I grew up, as mentioned, you shovel your neighbor's driveway before your own. Bring food to someone in need, your parents, and my parents still live by that value. You'll often see them lending a hand to their neighbor. One of their neighbors was moving over the weekend, and my dad, who's 76 years old, is out there loading a U-Haul van, helping them up. So I'll just pause here for a moment. Invite you to think about the people who have shaped you, who's taught you resilience, who gave you your first example of hard work. Maybe it was a parent, grandparent, coach, your neighbor. Those early role models plant seeds that grow into the values we carry through life. So maybe I'll stop here and I'll just ask real quickly, as I ask those questions, does anyone want to share where they learned the value of hard work, whether it's a grandparent, parent, coach, etc.? Yeah?
My mother.
Yeah? Yeah?
Can it extend on that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, my father passed away when I was 2 years old. And so my mom had to raise me and my siblings by herself, which again, you can relate to and understand how difficult that may be. Regardless of that, I believe that she has given us a very beautiful childhood and has brought us up to a great life of opportunity. Seeing her fight through all these obstacles obviously made me mature a bit earlier than kids usually do, because I was very aware of the situations that she was dealing with. But seeing her be able to overcome these things regardless of what they were, it has what basically taught me to fear nothing. At the end of the day, my mom, regardless of everything she's been through, has 3 college degrees that she obtained in 3 different countries in 3 different languages. So that by itself is very impressive for me.
Yeah. Fear nothing. Love that. And you can see that in your mom just by what she has. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. So when I look back now, I see how those first chapters really set the stage for everything else in my life. Sports, education, business, community engagement. Without those values, the work ethic, humility, resilience, I wouldn't be standing here today having this conversation with you. So they gave me the courage to leave home at the age of 15 to pursue a career in hockey, and the grounding to stay connected to my roots no matter how far I traveled. So with that foundation in place, let me take you to the next chapter of my story, the role of sports, especially hockey, and how it's shaped the person and the entrepreneur that I've become. So hockey's been one of the greatest teachers in my life. It's shaped me as much as my family did, and the lessons I've learned on the ice have carried into every single part of my businesses today. I wasn't the greatest grade school student. my mind was in the sports field and that's where I wanted to go. So I had to learn to stay focused and motivated. At 15, I made the leap to play AAA hockey in Spruce Grove. So that meant leaving my home in Slave Lake, leaving my parents, my family, my friends, and the life I knew. I billeted with a family I had never met before, so suddenly I had to grow up pretty fast. I did my own laundry, cooked my own food, figured out how to budget a little bit of grocery money, a little bit of entertainment money, and I learned what it took to take care of myself, because no one else outside of a billet family was really there to do it for me. But I'd be lying if I said that was easy. I was homesick. There were times that I was really homesick. But I didn't quit. It taught me that even when you're lonely, you still show up at practice. Even when you're tired, you still give your best. Lessons again that have really helped me in business. Because there are days when you look at the balance sheets and you want to quit. There are days when you lose a contract and you want to give up. But there's always a solution. So hockey gave me discipline, wake up early, train hard, listen to feedback, and work within a system bigger than yourself. It taught me teamwork, winning and losing as a group. No single player is bigger than the team. We've all heard that, but it really is true. It taught me leadership. Being a leader isn't about scoring those goals, it's about setting the tone, encouraging others, and really showing up with consistency. Through hockey, I've met an enormous amount of people. And through billeting, I've really learned how to build relationships with people quickly, how to adapt to different homes, different rules, different personalities. And I tell you, whenever you're negotiating a contract, whether you're sitting in a boardroom, you are going to have as an entrepreneur, a lot of personalities negotiating with you. From there, I went on to play junior hockey, then college hockey, carrying with me a dream like so many other Canadian kids of playing in the NHL. At some point, that reality set in that NHL wasn't going to happen for me. For an athlete, that's often the end of the world. For me, it became a turning point in my life. I realized hockey had given me discipline, resilience, and teamwork. That could be transferred from the arena into my education. I knew I could handle the 6 a.m. practices, the losses on the ice, and from those lessons, I could really handle the lectures, exams, late night studying, all-nighters as an art student, and having to work the next day. So hockey just didn't prepare me for sport, it's really prepared me for life, especially in business. When I work with First Nations communities on apprenticeship programs or with young players on the ice, I'm drawing from that same toolkit I built back then. Listen, encourage, teach, and challenge people to rise higher than they thought they could. Really, the truth is every one of us has a rink in our back. Or somewhere in our past. It really is just a place where we were challenged, stretched, pushed outside of our comfort zone. It could be a class you're taking at university. It could be this assignment after hearing you talk. For me, it was literally the rink. Really, the question I think is, what did you learn from the journey and how are you going to use it now? So the lessons I've learned from sport and hockey didn't just stay on the ice. They became the foundation for how I approach school, law, construction, drilling, my work with the NHL, and the Indigenous partnerships. And years later, they really opened the door for one of the most ambitious projects I've ever been a part of. A project that connected my love of hockey with my passion for Indigenous empowerment. And that bridge between hockey and community took on a new form just a few years ago. I was honored to help launch an Indigenous, or I shouldn't say help launch, I was honored to take the lead in an Indigenous-led group of First Nations from across Canada to put a bid in to purchase the Ottawa Senators. So, who's a hockey fan here? Anyone? Yeah? Number of you? Wonderful. This is one of my little passion things that I love to talk about because it was such a fun journey. So, a few years ago, I was approached by two leaders in the First Nations community, Chief Randy Erminskin and Chief Willie Littlechild. And Chief Erminskin came to me and said, Brent, with your background, I'm wondering if you could help us. We're trying to put together, and we've been trying to put this together for a few years, but we haven't been able to get traction. We're trying to put together a group to purchase an NHL team, First Nations group to purchase an NHL team. And there's a couple options right now. One of them being the Ottawa Senators, could you assist? So me and another guy flew down to Palm Springs. We met with two individuals, one individual by the name of Michael Gabati. Mike used to own the Winnipeg Jets. Another individual by the name of Howard Baldwin. Howard, if you've seen the film Ray, he is the director of Ray, him and his wife Karen. And he was also one of the founders of the World Hockey Association and an owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins while they were winning their Stanley Cups. So we met with them and we formed a group. We connected with 127 First Nations communities from across Canada. We raised a large portion of money, partnered with an individual from Ontario and put a bid in to purchase the Ottawa Senators. Unfortunately, our bid was not the winning bid, but the experience was absolutely wonderful and took me across Canada into the US. And I'm really proud to say that both Mr. Body and Mr. Baldwin continue to be friends to this day. So you never know where your journey in business is really going to take you. One of my favorite speeches, and I listen to this often when I need a little bit of a boost, is by an American former Notre Dame football coach named Lou Holtz. In his speech, Lou says that everybody needs four things in their life. And I can send the speech later on. It's a wonderful speech. First, you need something to believe in. And I'm talking about this because this is really, I'll tie it back to my businesses, my other business ventures later, but it's really something that I go back to and think about a lot when I'm making business decisions. One, again, you need something to believe in. For Lou, that meant his faith. For me, it's a belief that spans both through God and the Creator. I was raised with teachings that honor both, and I carry them together. The two names, for me, it's two names, one spirit. It's a belief that really grounds me. Second, you need something to do, meaningful work. As a husband, my wife has a laundry list of things for me to do on a weekly basis. And if she was here, she would tell you that I never get to them. As a father, there's always a sporting event to coach, a sporting event to cheer on my kids, or a dance off to join in with my 11-year-old daughter and her friends. As an entrepreneur, I've never been short of things to do, whether it's in the law, whether it's in construction, whether it's in drilling, whether it's forming Indigenous partnerships, and youth sports. Third thing, everyone needs someone to love. This one is, I believe, is the heart of everything. I have a beautiful family. My wife Lee and my daughters give me a wonderful meaning, and they are extremely important and extremely supportive of all the business ventures that I've been a part of. And I tell you, after we got married, we went on our honeymoon to Hawaii. And while we went on our honeymoon, I was working on a deal to sell one of our companies, and I was on the phone probably 6-7 hours a day on our honeymoon. So you need a supportive partner. I do hear about that today, so. Fourth, we need something to hope for. For me, this is a healthy family. And I also hope for the next generation that my daughter grows up in a world with more opportunity, understanding, and respect than I have. Hope is what keeps us getting back up after setbacks, which in business you will have setbacks. And it keeps you planning, keeps you believing that tomorrow can be better than today. So these 4 things are simple, but they're powerful, especially when you're trying to make a hard decision. That's generally when I revert back to them. So with those 4 things in mind, let me tell you how education has shaped my work as an entrepreneur and get into my entrepreneurial ventures more deeply. So we've talked about my roots, we've talked about hockey and the values, how those values have shaped me. So now I want to get into my education, my career. So as mentioned, I have a degree from the University of Alberta in Native Studies. That experience enhanced my double lives. So as I mentioned earlier, I live in 2 worlds, the Indigenous world and the non-Indigenous world. So the Indigenous world view and the legal/political/entrepreneurial framework has really helped me in business, and later at law school, really I learned how to. I looked at my law degree when I went to law school as a glorified business degree. I did. In business, you negotiate contracts on a day-to-day basis. And there's always a potential to, unfortunately, end up in a legal battle. So it's really helped position businesses, on my businesses, and really helped us position and set up our businesses, which we think. Early in my legal career, I worked at a law firm, but how do I say this? I felt like a token Indian. I really did. I eventually left and landed at a boutique firm in northern Alberta. There I learned to practice law with humanity, not just technical expertise. So I saw firsthand how legal decisions impacted real people and real communities. Eventually, my path shifted from law into business. As I mentioned, I looked at how I looked at my law degree. Chasing my true passion. And as said at the start, I currently sit as the Vice President, Business Relations, Indigenous Relations. It's just a glorified way to say I oversee our Indigenous department. So embedding Indigenous participation into projects, negotiating agreements that reflect community values. So over time, I learned how to move between the worlds, corporate boardroom, and community halls, which is very important, especially when you're working with First Nations communities. You have to understand how to act in the boardroom and how to act within the community, because they're two different ways. So bringing traditional teachings and Western systems together. That ability to translate across contexts really has become a wonderful part of my business. So I think education and career just isn't a resume. They're your training ground for business. So don't underestimate how your skills, what you're learning today, can transfer to a bigger purpose in any way. Your education is a launch pad, not just a limit. It is a network that you will go back to a number of times in business. And I can't tell you how many times that I've gone back to that network in business. With that backdrop, I'll talk about how these experiences led me to focus on Indigenous engagement now, reconciliation and practice, and building bridges between communities and industries. So by the time I finished law school, stepped into my career, I knew I wanted a little bit more, as I mentioned. I wanted to build things, I wanted to connect people. Most of all, I wanted to be part of something that could change lives, not just balance sheets. So that desire to learn more became a compass for me. So we have a family friend, a wonderful man by the name of Joey Malone. Joey used to live next to my grandparents, my mom's mom and dad in Slave Lake. And Joey owned a portfolio of Best Western hotels at the time. So I really admired Joey and all his work and how he's got into business. So at one point in my legal career, or there was a point in my legal career where I thought, you know what, I'm either going to take the leap now or it's going to be too late. I have too young of a family and I don't know that I want to do that later in my career, later in life. So I mustered up the courage, I called Joey and I said, I'm looking at making a change in my professional life. I'm wondering if you could be my mentor. So Joey lives in Slave Lake. I said, yeah, let's sit down, have a coffee and talk about this. So drove up to Slave Lake, 2.5 hours away from where I was living. I was living in Spruce Grove at that time. We sat down, he brought a couple of books for me. We started talking about my work in law, why I want to make a career change, and where I saw myself in a number of years, and what do I know about business? At the end of the conversation, it was a wonderful conversation. At the end of the conversation, Joey said, listen, I have a couple opportunities that are in front of me right now. Give me a week, I'll give you a call and see what we can do. A few days later, I got a call from Joey and he said, listen, I have an opportunity that's been presented to me with a company out of Vancouver. So the company is in the retail space. They have asked me, with my knowledge of Alberta, if I could go out and find them a number of open retail space in Alberta, and they're going to pay me, and they've offered to pay X amount per retail store. So Joey said, is this something that you could take on? I said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So I started on the journey, slowed down my law practice, which I eventually left full time. And a couple weeks later, after securing a few leases, we traveled to Vancouver and met with the company. The company made one mistake when they met with Joey and I. Anyone want to figure the guess of what the company made, mistake they made? They showed us their projected numbers on what they could make from these stores. So Jody and I said, well, what are we doing just going and getting leases? Why don't we take on this ourselves? We could still work with them, but why don't we negotiate this? So we negotiated. We came to a wonderful partnership with the company. We went out, continued to build up leases, get licenses for leases, and we eventually landed with a number of retail locations in Alberta and BC, and we sold that company in 2018 to a public entity. I share this because mentorship matters. Mentorship really matters. One person saying yes can transform your entire future. And now I work to try and do the same to others. So after we sold the retail company, I partnered with 4 other entrepreneurs, 2 that lived in Kelowna, one that lives in Lethbridge, myself and another from Vancouver. We had the vision of opening up an extraction plant for raw goods in the United States. So we flew down to the US. Our first stop was in New Mexico. We looked for land, eventually settling in a place called Greeley, Colorado. Greeley is about an hour north of Denver. Purchased land, hired a contractor, and built a 60,000 square foot extraction plant. That company is still operational today, and we extract raw goods for globally for companies. From there, I know my experiences are kind of all over the place, diversified in a lot of my companies. From there, I got into drilling. Alberta boy, back to oil and gas. I was approached again, and we go back to networks. I was approached by a friend who had a drilling company out of Atchison, and looking to create Indigenous partnerships. He came to me and said we are negotiating a contract with Suncor right now. Within the contract, they need a First Nations partner. Would you be willing to come on and help us? I said, yeah, absolutely, let's see what we can do. We won the bid, which was wonderful. With that, I was just a contractor working through one of my numbered companies. But from there, he introduced me to one of his friends in Calgary. His friend in Calgary also had a drilling company, and they were looking at starting an entire new division, an entire new Indigenous drilling division, which we did. We started it up. It was called ASCII Drilling, ASCII in Korea Sky Drilling. And we worked with companies across Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, and eventually down into the US, where we drilled for minerals, gold, copper, lithium, etc. That company again was sold. Today, that individual and I are starting a new drilling company, and we are in the process of negotiating a long-term mineral exploration contract with a company out of Calgary. So, and staying in the drilling business. To my current, more active role, which is construction and Gen Paul construction. Again, this goes right back to your network and the people that you interact with. Gencall Construction, was founded in 1979 by a family in Stony Plain, Alberta. The son, Corey, eventually took it over. And how Corey and I got connected, him and I would sit in the stands and watch our daughters play volleyball together. And we would talk business and we would talk about life. And eventually, one day, out of the blue, I got a call from Corey. He said, listen, we are looking at getting into, getting more active in the First Nations, Indigenous arena, construction arena. Would you be interested in coming in and talking to us about this? That morphed into what it is today as a partner at Gencall and my more active involvements with the company. And as mentioned, we work in several First Nations communities, and my role there is to really bridge the gap and create relationships and real friendships long before a project is even on the table. So we attend ceremonies, we take part in community events, because going back to what I've been talking about, relationships, especially in the First Nations world, aren't built on words. When we approach Indigenous partnerships, it's never about showing up with a sales pitch. It's just about showing up with humility and saying, how can we help? How can we help you? What do you need? How can we help? We take the time to learn and respect their protocols, because every First Nations community, or most First Nations communities, have different protocols. We invite the right people to the table, and we truly listen to what the community wants and needs. One of my favorite asks when we go and meet with a First Nations community or a leader is, what keeps you up at night? On this project, what keeps you up at night? And how can I help so that you're not staying up at night? So from day one, we build capacity in our projects, from apprenticeships to local procurement, so that when the ribbon's cut, the nation is stronger. We measure reconciliation not by just speeches, but in hiring statistics and procurement dollars, and we stay after the project ends. And I think that's extremely important, is that you stay after the project ends. A long time ago, companies would go into First Nations communities, they would, in the construction side, they'd construct a school. At the end of the project, they'd hand the key over and they say, this is yours and we are out of here. We don't do that. We say, listen, we are your partner, and if you need anything, we are gonna come back and help and serve your community. Whether it's helping with a busted pipe, or whether it's a community powwow, a rodeo, a community event that we can be a part of and still engage. So across my drilling, construction, one thread really runs through that all. It's partnerships, it's friendships, it's relationships. Moving Indigenous participation from the margins right to the center. And really embedding reconciliation is not just in our mission statements, but in our contracts, our budgets, and our job descriptions, etc. I better check the time here. Just about that. I'll skip this little portion. So as I look ahead, we've talked about a lot about business ventures, how I got into business, the importance of relationships and networking, how to work with people. My hope is simple. Really, for me, it's that my family stays healthy, community keeps growing stronger, and that's just this. It's a community staying stronger and really learning, and you have a pitch competition coming up. It's really, that's the community, and that's really cool. It's a cool initiative. And that each of us in this room finds our own way to contribute to a better future. I think often about our youth, my daughters. I'm committed to embedding Indigenous perspectives in everything I do, whether it's in construction, whether it's in law, community initiatives, and I invite you to do the same in your own fields. Open doors, offer mentorship, and help create opportunities. So when I started this talk, I told you about my roots in Slave Lake, my family's hard work, the values that shaped me. We've traveled through the hockey rinks, classrooms, boardrooms, drilling sites, construction sites, NHL. At every stage, the theme has been the absolute same. Relationships, resilience, and respect. If you don't have respect, you're not getting in the room. And once you have respect, it's really important to keep that. So I always like to say this. My call to action for you is this. Think about the 4 things that I talked about. What you believe in, what you do, who you love, and what you hope for. Let those guide your decisions. Ask yourself how you can open a door for someone else. Because opening a door for someone else, I think, is extremely important. How can you bring more inclusion into your work? How can you create opportunities rather than just talk about them? The pitch being a wonderful opportunity. So when you walk out of this room, you don't have to have all the answers. I'm learning every single day, just as I am standing here with you. Take one small step forward, make that phone call to someone that you think could be your mentor. I'll leave you there. So thank you again. Thank you again for giving me the honor to share my story with you. I run over time, so I apologize. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I hope something in my journey of education, entrepreneurship has really sparked something in yours. So thank you. I